Welcome to The Perfect Balance, where this is the podcast where we discover your symptoms are not the problem, with your hosts, Eva Vennari, Dr. Heather Kneale, and Leslie Brown. Join us as we jump right into this episode. Welcome in. My name is Eva Vennari, and this is The Perfect Balance, where we discover your symptoms are not the problem. And I'm one of your three hosts today. I'm with the Elevate Institute, and I help people reverse from chronic illness and burnout.
And I'm Dr. Heather Kneale. I'm co-founder and CEO of Global Nutritional Healing, and we offer certificate programs in mineral balancing.
And I'm Leslie Brown of the Mineral Balancing Group, and we focus on empowering high-achieving men to effectively manage stress so that they can sustain peak levels of performance.
And one of those peak levels of performance that we're all wanting to work on, whether we actually do it or not is another thing, is exercise.
Okay, that's my cue. That's my cue.
There we go.
Yeah, so there's an awful lot of myths around exercise, and well, we're just going to unpack a few of them. But when it comes to mineral balancing science in particular, I hear things all the time about exercise, and they're actually doing us more of a disservice than a service when we over exercise. We're doing the wrong kind of exercise. We don't pay attention to our body talk when we're exhausted, and we don't even know what exhaustion looks like, or we think, oh, it's really good that I'm so exhausted that I pass out and fall asleep. Let's talk about some of these things. All right.
Exactly. I had a client just recently. She called me and she said, I have to go to the gym. I'm so tired. I'll call you after I go to the gym. And her voice, even her voice, Heather, I'm going to the gym. And I said, how long do you spend at the gym? And she said, about an hour. I do the treadmill, or I try to do a class, and then I do weights, so it's a really high intensity workout. And I said, the way you're sounding right now sounds more like a red flag to me. This sounds more like you're doing too much. There's time when you can do more. But if you're exhausted and you're going to the gym and you feel better after, I mean, I know Dr. Pollack used to talk about whipping a horse. It'd be so tired and you'd whip it and then it's not tired anymore, couldn't even sleep. Well, that's what you're doing with exercise. She was going, but she didn't feel better after. So that was my first question. Like, do you feel better after you exercise? Oh, no. I was just like, okay. And so she actually cut it out. And we're working more on other things. I mean, she can do like light yoga or some other things and maybe go back into a little more exercise later. But her mineral balance, she's in a 4-low pattern, which is a very low energy state anyway. So it was doing her a disservice.
Well, I'm curious to know what myth she was buying into by going to the gym when she was tired.
Her husband and her had bought it was a package, and they both wanted to lose weight. So she was on a lose weight kick is what it was. That was the myth, that you have to work out to lose weight.
That you have to work out to lose weight. Well, if the energy was related to it, I wonder if she's heard the one that I get a lot, which is, well, exercise gives you energy. We heard this.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought. I did ask her if she felt better after, because I was going to let her know why, but she didn't even feel better after. I was like, okay, well, you got two reasons right there not going. Don't feel good before and don't feel good after.
Oh, man. When you said the myth that exercise makes you feel better, I had a client who she did feel better after exercising, but her fingernails were blue, which meant that she couldn't get oxygen. She was very, very thin and wanted to be, because she was model thin, and that was really her business. 600 calcium shell, which is like way bad. The woman was dying, and very slow death, but anything to look good, right? And so she'd exercise maybe 5 o'clock in the morning, I think, maybe 5:30 was when the class was. And she'd push herself and she goes, oh, I feel so much better when I exercise. Okay. So she didn't know how to think about that. I think she felt better. My counsel was to her, you feel better after exercise because you're forcing oxygen into your body. You're forcing your blood to move. You're forcing, essentially, I didn't say that to her, but you're essentially forcing a corpse to hold on to life. And that may sound extreme, but that was the case, because literally she was dying. So she took some counts. She ended up putting on 10 pounds, which totally freaked her out. But she's still stunningly beautiful. But it was the myth. It's the exercise that makes me feel better. Well, it's like, yeah, the hit of heroin does for a minute too, but it's not always the wisest choice.
Putting a new photo in my head to The Walking Dead.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, really
Add
good.
a little makeup.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, I mean, you bring one to my mind. I've had a lot of people go, oh, I go to the gym, I work out, and they do. They look like an Adonis, they look great. And they come to me for things like, oh, I just have allergies. And then there's a resistance to the reality of the hair test saying, oh no, you have toxic metals, nutrient imbalances. There's an unhealed, infection that you've probably been carrying around since you were 12 and didn't know it, you know? And so like having strong muscles or the ability to build them and having a beautiful body is not the same thing as being in good health. They're two different things.
They don't line up.
You can have a beautiful body and be in good health.
You can. That's the point.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And you have to be able to think it through, though. Are you really doing what's good for your body?
Yeah. And I know a lot. Here's another one. A lot of people think that just because their heart tests come back with positive results. Oh, I have a healthy heart, no matter my weight. I have a healthy heart and my arteries are healthy. Therefore, I'm healthy and I don't need to exercise. So you have the opposite of those who over exercise and those who underdo it. So what do we say to people who are in that one?
It's like getting the circulation. It's hard, the mental aspect of it is, we have people that have made it to where they have to exercise for whatever reason. And then you have people that, will not exercise it, whatever, and they'll think of any excuse. But if they have tests that confirm that they're okay, there's usually some other things going on. Usually they have some joint pain or, or something else is going on that, just getting the body moving. I always tell people, if you're not moving it, you're gonna lose it. I mean, I've seen it with numerous family members that if you just stop moving, you're not going to be able to do those things. You won't be able to do it as well, or things start aching, or it's hard to know what to say to people unless you know them a little bit or understand a little bit of where they're coming from. Like you were saying, Eva, is that, what myth have they bought into? You have to understand what that is before you can really help somebody, get in the right mindset. So with somebody who doesn't exercise, I mean, I would probably wait for cues or, of other things that would improve with some exercise, flexibility, or, they pulled a muscle when they went down to tie their shoe. I've heard that, it's like, why you pulled that muscle to tie your shoe,
You're okay with that?
Yes, I've had
Have you ever put your back out sneezing? Have you ever done?
Yes.
Or you wake up because have you ever said this? I slept wrong.
Oh, yeah.
How do you get sleep wrong? So you wake up and it's like, okay, this is a lack of exercise. It's like there is a fine line that I think that we need to reach, and putting too much pressure on the body to exercise to get it to perform the way that it used to in your youth, like when you were on the football team, when you were playing volleyball, when you were in tennis, when you were doing these things in school. You're no longer a teenager. So sorry for the news, but
Eva, I'm leaving. Bye. No, kidding.
But life has happened, right? And without the mineral balancing to support you and the changes in life along the way, you've lost mobility, right? So just like what Heather, what you were saying, it's like if you don't use it, you'll lose it. But at the same time, you have to be supported. And this is the part of the healing journey that we're not provided with. I think not premier athletes, they talk about nutrition all the time, but it's something that in a offhanded or casual way of trying to get the body to perform for us is, we don't put the pressure on ourselves to keep up that nutrition as we go through the journey, and we think that it's okay to just not do it. So the myths on exercise is, well, the body will have a muscle memory and it'll just remember what it's supposed to do. No, you're going to break it. You're going to break your body if you do the same things you did as a kid as you're trying to do now, unless you've done something to repair it along the way.
That I think another part, I'm back to marketing again, because I talked about that in a previous video, but we get marketed to this fountain of youth, or stay young forever, and those are belief systems, those are myths that we start to adopt and adapt to as belief systems, and we don't look at the other side of it. So have you guys seen some of those movies or documentaries about men in particular when they're younger and they're football players, and then they show them in their 30s and their 40s and they can barely crawl to be with their children? Or they've had terrible brain damage and they have difficulty functioning. That's not the stuff that gets highlighted. So keeping balance on both sides, I think, is really important. Movement is important no matter what. Even if you're stuck in bed, if you can do a little movement, raise your hands, stretch, that's really important. But that's different than exercise that literally is draining minerals away and not allowing your body to have the life force, the energy buildup to help you heal. They're just different. And then once you adopt these myths as beliefs, a belief system is very difficult to change. So it might take a life-changing event, or it needs somebody who has the character trait of valuing learning. I'm on a lifelong journey of learning and loving life. Those people are those people are more likely to really value and appreciate mineral balancing, because they're open to realize that they don't want to stay in that one line of thinking, that they want to understand what's going on in the world and in their bodies.
Yep. I would even take that a step further and say some people believe that exercise is detoxing.
Oh, right.
Oh. Yeah. I mean, you sweat, but
yeah. When you sweat, when you are working out, you're putting your body into a stress response. And stress response is not where the body heals. The body can only heal and detox in a relaxed state. And when I say this to people, 100% of the time, there's shock and dismay. And I don't understand. I feel like I've been lied to by everybody. You have.
Right. Well, it's not really well-known knowledge that the parasympathetic state is where you detox. That's why we recommend the sauna, because you're not exercising to sweat, but you're sweating. That's a form of detox. But exercise, like you said, you're in that sympathetic dominant state. You're making it happen. Well, your body's not detoxing.
Yeah, it seems to be something that is, it's common sense only once you know the foundation of this work.
Right.
Right. And so once you realize, like, there's these little camps that we can fit into according to our hair analysis test. And if we're constantly sitting in this place of the sympathetic dominance, then we're never in a healing state, or so irregularly that we can't even overcome our day-to-day needs.
I stayed in sympathetic for years, and it was very hard. I mean, my thinking, even though I was doing my saunas, doing my coffee enemas, doing the supplements, trying to sleep, I had problems with sleep. My brain just was so active, and I would replay things over and over again. And I just stayed in that. My body just kept wanted to. I've been doing it for so many years. I just needed to stay in that state, but it took a lot of work, mental, emotional, and getting rid of some metals that were interfering with that. Took a long time.
Yeah. I'm going to go back to sweating for a minute, because it can be, right? If you're in the sauna, it took me almost a year before I could sweat. So the largest organ in my body could not detox. And so sweating is important, but what people don't realize, for intense exercise, when they're sweating, you can be draining out minerals, right? And they don't realize, like when they're watching athletes drink electrolyte drinks, and I'm not going to mention the popular ones because I'm not particularly supportive of them because they have so much sugar in them, but they drink electrolyte drinks. But people don't realize that electrolytes are oftentimes a combination of the first 4 minerals that we measure on a hair test: calcium, the potassium, the magnesium, and the sodium. They don't realize that those athletes are replacing the minerals. They may not know it, but their trainers know it. They're trying to replace minerals that they have definitely been leaching out with this aggressive activity and sweating.
Yeah, as part of the maintenance training that we normal people, non super athletes, we don't get that. We get bits and pieces of it as fads, trends, this latest supplement that you can take to become this type of super, not a real athlete, but
Right. To
performance
look like one.
to
To
look
look like
like
one.
one. Yeah,
To
to go
look like one.
and,
Yeah.
lift double the weight. Well, why would you need to do that? Are you lifting cars? What are you doing? Like,
Is that your career choice?
yeah.
Or having to, they don't realize also. Now, I'm not quite there where I want to be yet, but that a sign of good health is really a little bit more on the thin side, right? Once your minerals start to get really balanced and the metals start to leave, your body starts to kind of slim down or change shape. But I've had clients who are like bicycle riders, competitive bicycle riders, thin, muscular, lean, a great look, right? But if they took off for the summer, they look like the blimp by the end of the summer because they couldn't metabolize. It wasn't that they're eating. And then they thought they had to, anyway, they just got it all confused. They didn't realize they were exercise dependent as opposed to their body sustaining a naturally healthy state. And then to top it off, they say, oh, I can eat anything I want.
Good luck with that.
Because I do this.
Yeah.
And I'll look
Have
at their
fun.
chart. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So essentially, which I'm going to translate that, I can eat any genetically modified, toxic, poisonous substances and voluntarily put them into my body because I kill myself for bike racing.
Yeah. If there's this rule of thumb that I love to put things through templates, right? And so if something that you are doing on a daily basis, if you can't stop it in order to keep some symptom at bay, then that's not the solution. It's only a Band-Aid.
Well said.
Exactly.
And that's true for exercise, just as it is anything else. So yeah, you should be able to go a day or two and not exercise and still maintain whatever body shape. I mean, a day or two is not going to be enough for body shape, or it shouldn't be. maybe for some people it is. But the length of time that you take a break from something shouldn't determine, whether or not you maintain those results. And of course, we're not talking about sleeping, eating, regular habits. I'm talking about things that we do to keep another habit away. I remember telling somebody a story. This is years ago before I got on this program. I said, I have to take this one particular supplement because I noticed that if I don't take, I think it was a shake with a certain type of sugar balancing in it for my body. If I don't take this shake every day, then my body completely shuts down by 2 o'clock and I can't work anymore. And I was saying that as a positive thing, a sales pitch for this one thing. But at the time, I wasn't trained as I am today to look at that as a Band-Aid. And somebody went, really? You can't stop taking this without relapsing? And I go, yeah. And then it hit me. So sometimes it just takes somebody saying something. That's why we do these podcasts, right?
Right.
We want to be able to affect a thought that you think is somehow, you've given yourself permission to think is okay. Maybe because nobody has said to you that it's not. So
anger is another one people exercise. They want to keep their anger at bay. They're really anger's close to the surface, but once they exercise, they calm down. And so they might have anger outbursts after if they take off for a day or two. What I asked one young woman, it's what happens if you stop running 5 miles every morning?
Yeah.
I'm vicious. I go,
right.
Okay. But that's
I have a similar story. Yeah. I come from a very athletic family. I haven't really said that much. I have bodybuilders. And I have clients that are athletes. I do want to mention that we do help, people that are athletes just to, I have one that kept pulling his hamstring and it would not heal. And he started on the mineral balancing program. And granted, he's not slowing down. This is his lifestyle. He makes money doing it. But now he's not getting injured. So the program has helped his mineral balance. And I've seen it with other people in athletic people that their endurance, they get better endurance. They're not fatigued. But we do hear, in the long run that, like whoever mentioned about the football, I think it was Leslie or Eva there, that, when you see them later on that, that they can no longer walk or they can't do things, we want to prevent that. And so we do want athletes on this program. But I taught exercise. I taught kickboxing, weight training, running, step aerobics. I was up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I got through college teaching about 20 to 30 exercise classes a week. I didn't do exercise. I now know why I did exercise. I grew up in a family that we got up, you play tennis, you get, after school, you go and so it was part of how I was raised, but it wasn't for my body image. It was more later, it became so that I wasn't moody. I did not even know I was that moody until I took 2 days off of exercise. And I was up and down, just my emotions were up and down. And I thought, that's strange. Started working out again, doing it again. And then I remember I couldn't work out somewhere. I started making it to where I never missed a workout. It didn't matter if I was traveling. I made sure they had a gym. I made sure I started catering my life. So when Leslie was saying it's a Band-Aid, that it was a Band-Aid for many, many years. I just didn't realize it. And I don't know when the transition happened to a Band-Aid because I grew up that way. But many years, I think that's how I kept at bay my 13 personalities that my husband talked about.
Well, you brought up also a really, really good point about that, the wound healing, and so when we think wounds are only the things that we have, on skin and that draw blood. But, a bone that doesn't heal properly, I've heard that quite frequently. So that's one. Ligaments that detach or strain or sprain or tear. That was my history. I played volleyball and gymnastics. I hurt myself more in volleyball, more strain, sprains, and like, joints that were jammed together in volleyball than anything. And like, I was 16, I was 15. Why was that happening? I was the only one on the team having that problem. Flexibility, right? You can do flexibility movements. Like I said, I was a gymnast. I was one of the few who couldn't get into a total split. And I think that was because from a very early age, I was already minerally imbalanced. And that's your zinc to copper ratio, right? So
Right.
all these things going on inside the body that we don't see and don't know to correlate. This has everything to do with minerals. I mean, we're supposed to be made of stardust.
Right.
We need those essential minerals. But yeah, what other things can we do besides heavy workout and pushing ourselves to the point of exhaustion so that we're still keeping the body moving, because we know that's important, but not exhausted all the way to the point of passing out? What are some exercises that people can do safely?
I wanted to add one more thing to your healing list, which is emotional healing, right? Because people don't realize that traumas, we mentioned this before, but traumas will leach the minerals out of the brain. And then there can be a whole cascade of effect of other physical manifestations after that. So emotional healing is real big too. And let's see, now your question was, what other things can we do besides taking our minerals and being good about that?
No, what exercise methods are good while we are on a mineral balancing program so that we don't take up all of so this is something we really didn't talk about. I call something like the essential energy quotient. This is how much energy do we have to get through the breathing, the digesting, the heart beating, the staying awake, the thinking, right? That's essential energy quotient. We might only get enough nutrients in our body to take care of this. So what happens to all the other things we need to do? We need to work, we need to concentrate, we need to take care of kids, we need to, make lunches for tomorrow. We need to overcome the sneeze that some kid, gave us on the elevator. We need to, all of these things we couldn't do yesterday. All of this energy is now missing. So if we have a little bit of awareness about our energy structure, what's there, what's available, what should we use it for?
So if you're talking about some type of exercise like walking or yoga, it has to be something you like. I mean, if you are trying things and you're not liking it, find something else it doesn't expend a ton of energy. walking, breathing exercises, Tai Chi. I mean, some of those can take up a lot of energy if you get really into them, but just more lighter type of exercise, and listen to your body, because sometimes you might not be able to do much, and other times you might be able to do more. Not listening to your body, that's a big problem. You're used to doing this every day, and you even if it's walking or hiking, and now you've gone to 5-mile hikes daily, and you said these are little things that can creep in. I have a tendency to overdo, so that's why I mention it that direction. So if I'm thinking, oh, a half a mile is good, well, 20 is probably better, right?
Yeah.
That's my personality. So you have to listen to your body, because there's going to be some days where it feels great to walk a half a mile. And then there's going to be some days where you're just like, oh, I always do it every day, but it doesn't feel really good right now. That's when you go, okay, be kind to yourself. This is what we need to do. We need to be kind and love ourselves. Otherwise, how are you going to love and be around other people?
Yeah, I can remember when I first started on the program, I was going to try to do 3 gentle 20 minutes walks a week. And there's a beautiful park close by, so I'd go do that. But my legs felt so heavy. Oh my gosh, I felt like I was dragging 100-pound sandbags every time I took a step, and my heart felt like it was going to jump out of my chest. And I thought, well, maybe this is a little too much for me right now. So I had to pay attention there. And so I started doing breathing exercises. And one of my favorite ones was putting my arms up against the doorstop and then leaning forward into it and taking a deep breath. Well, I almost passed out because my body hadn't been used to the oxygen coming in, and I hadn't had the energy to expand my lungs that deeply. So I just did them more shallowly. But breathing exercises are exercises, and they're really good. I happen to love, I'm taking a hot yoga right now, which I really love, 90 minutes of hot yoga, but I couldn't done that several years ago when I was first starting the program. And then we were kidding when I first started with this, but I keep this on my desk. And when I'm listening to podcasts, there are different arm movements that I'll do with weights, because it feels good and it keeps me paying attention, and I can handle that now. And when I first started, our accountant said, oh, start lifting weights less. Let's start with like 15 pounds. Well, the best I could do is 3 pounds. He goes, oh my, you are a soft city kitty, aren't you? But then I worked myself up to 8, which is where I am right now, and that's fine. But you do have to pay attention to your body, and they're just different seasons of life that your body will allow you to do different things.
Well, you just touched on 2 myths that I want to dispel before we end. And one is that you don't have to lift heavy weights to affect your body and to work it out. That's a myth, and of course it came from a guy. 15 pounds. You start with 3 pounds. A woman's body is not going to bulk up even with heavy weights. It's just not going to physically do that. But we don't also need to put that kind of stress on the ligaments and tissues, especially if we're already minerally imbalanced. Like, who do you listen to? Let's go back to that podcast. Then the other was, you don't need to sweat. People think that they need, in order to show that their exercise has worked for them and done something to be helpful, that they have to sweat. No, you don't.
Exactly.
Oh, and one more. You don't have to do your exercise for the day all at once. So if you have 2 10-minute breaks, go on 2 10-minute walks. Like, you don't need to try to fit it in all at once. Those are the big ones. It's like we have all these myths about exercise. Just move the body a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. That's really what the point we want to get across.
And don't be an exercise addict. If you're addicted to exercise, question yourself and ask yourself, why? If you enjoy it, that's a whole nother thing.
Well, some addiction covers up.
Well,
Yeah,
good
it's
point.
very hard.
Yeah. So if you're addicted to it, then you're addicted to like the runner's high or whatever. You think that's happy. Make them stop running for a couple of days and see how happy they are. So
yeah, the endorphins. Yeah, the endorphins from the exercise. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My husband does archery every morning and he loves it. And so he's pulling back 60, 70 pounds of weight in a stationary position. going and pulling the arrows out of the target or whatever they're doing. They do field archery, so they're up and down hills, but it's not sweat producing.
No.
But it takes a lot of strength. I tried to keep up with him. I'm a 3-pound girl and he's a 70-pound guy. So so he gave me a kid's bow, which worked beautifully.
So I mean, for as many different types of people there are out there, there's, you know, that many types of exercise programs. And it's really important, as I think all three of us have been saying, listen to your body. And it's not a one size fits all, but it's also not a set it and a forget it. This is not Ron Popeil's, you know, rotisserie chicken machine where you can set it and forget it. This is an ongoing reevaluation, communication with your body. And if that seems a little bit too excessive, it's just you're not in the practice. That's all. So we want to encourage that you explore and have fun with it. If you like dancing, dance. Dance to your heart's content. Dance in the kitchen while your food's cooking.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's what I do. I like to dance.
It
So,
is fun.
any last words before we wrap this one up?
No, I think
No, good one, important one.
Yeah, I like this
Kind
one.
to yourselves. That's it. Be kind to your body. Don't try and beat it into submission. Be kind to your body. It'll last longer and serve you well.
Oh, that's another good conversation, is that how to evolve the types of exercise as we age so that we're not putting more stress and pressure on a body that is supposed to be responding differently to different exercises. That was very vague. We'll get into that another time. That's all for us right now. This has been the perfect balance where we discuss that your symptoms are not the problem. My name is Eva Vennari with the Elevate Institute.
And I'm Dr. Heather Kneale with Global Nutritional Healing.
And Leslie Brown with the Mineral Balancing Group.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.